Hey friends, it's Kara with iStampin.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to be making a really fun card using the Little Twinkle stamp set along with the matching designer series paper. And there's just a few days left of the month, and so if you haven't taken advantage of the paper sale, be sure to check it out. I'll link it in today's blog post. But you buy 3 packs of designer series paper and you can choose from a certain collections and get one of those for free. All right, so let me show you all the products that you're going to need to make today's project. So like I said, you're going to need Little Twinkle stamp set. You will need some gray granite cardstock along with Petal Pink cardstock, so you'll just need a scrap of this. We're going to be stamping on this and then cutting it down. You will also need the Twinkle Twinkle designer series paper, the Petal Pink and Silver baker's twine, the new Twinkle adhesive back sequins. For the ink, we're going to be using Versamark and Knighted Navy, so we will be doing some embossing, which means you will need to get out your silver embossing powder along with your heat tool. But you'll also want to get your embossing buddy. And then for adhesive, we're going to be using Snail and Dimensionals. All right, so let's start off with our card base. So I've cut a piece of gray granite, or granite gray. Gray granite, okay. I haven't gotten used to these new names. So gray granite. This is, I've cut it down to 4 by 8. And then we're going to score it. I scored it at 4 inches. So it's just a cute little 4 by 4 card. And then just get your bone folder and burnish that score mark. The next thing I've done is I've cut a piece of the Twinkle Twinkle designer series paper. It's this really pretty like constellation type paper. It has this really cute little stars on the back, and that's in gray granite, so that would be really pretty. But we're going to be working on this side, and I've just cut this down to 1/8 of an inch smaller. So this is 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. Now we're actually going to be stamping on this. So this is where your Versamark and silver embossing powder are going to come into play. The 2 stamp sets that you will need today is this cute little heart constellation stamp, and then this one where it says it was written in the stars. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rub my embossing buddy on the designer series paper, and this just kind of takes away all the static that is on my fingers and that may be on the paper. So when I put the embossing powder on there, the only thing the powder should stick to is the ink. That's the idea. We'll see if that works. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up the stamp with Versamark. This is just a clear glycerin stamp, so you may not see much when I stamp it onto the paper. But once I sprinkle the silver embossing powder, you'll see the design a lot better. And this is just going to go right here in the center of the paper. Yeah, that's probably hard to see. You may be able to see it when I kind of turn it like that. All right, I like to use my little tray here, and I'm just going to sprinkle the powder right on top. There you go. You can see it a lot better now. Oh, and it did work. Yay. Right, so the next thing you're going to do is heat this up with your heat tool. I like to put it on the 2nd setting, and it shouldn't take too long to melt the powder. So this is what it looks like after we have heat embossed it. Normally I like to show that on camera, but my heat tool, the cord isn't long enough to where I'm creating the card where I'm recording this, so I had to do it off camera. But if you've embossed before, you know how pretty, how fun that technique is. All right, so we're going to put this off to the side for a minute. We'll come back to that in just a second. All right, next let's go ahead and do our stamping. Like I said, this is Petal Pink, and we're going to be using Knighted Navy ink. And I've got the stamp right here. And I'm just going to stamp this here in the center, and then we're just going to be cutting it down. Okay, so I love that font. It's kind of like an outline font, so that's kind of fun. Okay, so there we have it. it's all cut down. So we can start putting our card together. So what we're going to do is put this on top of the card base. And I'm just going to use snail, and I'm going to use a little bit more snail than normally because when you do heat emboss, your paper does get a little warped, which is not unusual. So I'm going to put a little bit more adhesive than I normally do just to see if I can flatten it out, which this should work. So just make sure that all your borders are even, and I need to move it a little bit to the left. Okay, there we go. So that's, the paper's now flat. The next thing I'm going to do is take my silver and petal pink baker's twine. I'm going to wrap it around the card, and then I'm going to tie a bow. So I have probably more, or I know I have more twine than is necessary, but I just, when I do projects on camera, I like to have more than enough, just so I don't waste your time fiddling with the bow. And I like to make a knot first. That helps keep the ribbon from slipping, or the twine from slipping. And then I'm just going to tie a bow. Just pull the tails. Until you get the size of the bow that you like. Okay, and I'll cut the tails at the end. And I'm going to move this down just a little bit. I don't want it, I don't like where it was like cutting off the heart. So I'm going to put it kind of in the lower part of the heart. And then from here, let's move this more to about right there. There we go. It's kind of more in the center. I think I like that better. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop this up right here. And I think I'm going to use the mini dimensionals, not the regular size. Because what I want to do is I want it to straddle the twine. So I'm going to put 2 at the top and then 2 at the bottom. And I think this should work. Okay, making sure that I don't, whoops, this one's showing, so let me move this. And you know, it may not be necessary to have all these dimensionals. So, especially because this is such a small piece, you probably could have gotten away with 2. How darling is that? Okay, I can go ahead and cut the tails, and then I don't want to forget about putting the adhesive backed sequins on the card. So these come with 200 sequins. My goodness, that's a lot. Let me show you what colors are in the package. Oh, it's another. I'm using these for the very first time. All right, so we have, okay, it looks like just 2 different colors. So we've got the silver stars, and then we have these really pretty, oh, and I guess they're 2 different sizes. Okay, so we have large and small, kind of like iridescent stars, and then we have large and small silver stars. Okay, I guess this was just an extra star that popped out. All right, I want to use the iridescent one, so I'm going to use the small, and I'm going to use my paper piercer to put these on. Let's see how this works. So I'm just going to randomly put them around the card. Put one right there. Then we'll put one down here. And let's do one more. We'll put one about right there. And there you have it, just a really, really sweet card. And if you want, we can cut the tails down a little bit more. If that bow's a little too big, you can make it smaller, but there you have it. So the great thing about this is, you know, this stamp set is geared towards babies, but you can see here that it can really be used for a lot of different occasions. You know, it was written in the stars. That could be for, you know, something good happening to somebody. So I just think this is darling, and I love the paper. I love how the silver embossing looks on the Night of Navy, and the little iridescent sequins, the little stars sequins. All right, guys, well, if you liked today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure you head on over to istampin.com, and don't forget about my Alaskan special. There's just a few days left for you to take advantage of that, and be sure to use that special host code. All right, guys, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.